This is Michael Woodward, and this is Season 2, Episode 71 of the Jumble Think Podcast.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Jumble Think Podcast, where we interview leading entrepreneurs about their journey of turning ideas and dreams into reality. Along the way, we'll give you tips and ideas of how you can turn your own dreams and ideas into reality too. Our guest on today's episode is Anik Singal. More about Anik in a moment. Before we get rolling, I want to encourage you, wherever you like to listen to podcasts, head on over and subscribe to the Jumble Think Podcast. If you like listening on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, we've made it even easier for iTunes and Apple Podcasts. Go to jumblethink.com/iTunes. For Spotify, jumblethink.com/Spotify. It will take you right to the app where you can subscribe to the podcast. And while you're there, why don't you go ahead and leave us a rating and review so that others know what you love about the Jumble Think podcast too. Now let's jump into today's episode. Hey there, welcome to the Jumble Think podcast. My name is Michael Woodward. I am your host. We have an incredible episode lined up for you today. Today's episode is sponsored by Opportunity in China. Have you been looking for a way to change your career or social prospects? Do you see the world around you changing and you haven't quite figured out what path to take? Well, you're not alone in seeking opportunity. Visit opportunityinchina.com for access to scholarships to attend university in China, or if you have a bachelor's degree already, Opportunity in China provides access to jobs in the educational sector all across China. Working in China is not only often well paid, but it will place you among 1/5 of the world's population, boosting your social network, bringing you more deeply into the story of globalization, opening doors you never knew existed. So seize your opportunity now. Visit their website at opportunityinchina.com to learn more about what they're doing. By the way, they have an amazing podcast. All you have to do is go to wherever you like to listen to podcasts and search for Opportunity in China. I think you're going to love their podcast, and make sure you check out what they're doing with helping students and teachers find the right fit for them. Our guest on today's episode is Anik Singal. He is the founder and CEO of Learn Inc. LURN. He is widely considered by the industry as one of today's most successful online marketers. His specialties include profit-generating product launches and evergreen funnels, building back ends and funnels, article marketing, search engine optimization, affiliate marketing, and business management consulting. Business Week recognized him in the top 3 of the best U.S. entrepreneurs under 25. He's an Inc. 500 CEO, listed 2 times among the fastest growing companies in America. While in college at the University of Maryland, he was awarded Company of the Year from MTech and named Entrepreneur of the Year by Hinman CEOs. His online marketing businesses generate over $20 million per year in sales, and he has helped contribute to over $120 million in online publishing sales. Today, Anik teaches people how to create their own online passion-based business. He then guides them through his step-by-step process to maximize profits and grow revenue. He has trained over 250,000 students around the world. Many have gone on to become incredibly successful and true industry-leading experts. Anik is also incredibly passionate about giving back. For nearly 2 decades, he has devoted his life to building schools around the world. He dreams of providing education to those who are not currently receiving that birthright. As of today, Anik has been a key driver in helping build 4 schools in India. He plans to scale this mission globally, all through his nonprofit organization For All Our Good.
My pleasure, man. I'm excited to be here, Michael. Let's do this. I love talking about success, about entrepreneurship, and about just making dreams come true. So thank you for having me here.
you should have him on your podcast. I had heard about Learn. I had heard a little bit about you, but I really didn't know much about you. And the more and more I research your story, what you're doing, and how you're rethinking kind of normal conventions of education and giving back as an entrepreneur, it just, I was like, this guy is awesome. So privileged to have you on. I want to get a little bit of that backstory for you, because some people are going to be like, hey, I've heard of his company. I think I remember hearing about him in Inc. or in Business Week. I remember reading a story where he's been mentioned. But tell us a little bit about your backstory of entrepreneurship and how you built the business you built.
Yeah, well, I'd be happy to, but it depends how much time we have, because it's a crazy story. So, I come from an Indian American descent. So growing up, I don't know if anyone listening has ever been into a hospital or been to a doctor's office. Typically it's going to be an Indian American. So I was pretty much scheduled and set to become a doctor.
Wow.
Growing up, look, I looked around me, I looked at my family, I looked at my friends, and I saw who are the ones that are most successful, driving the nicest car, living in the biggest homes, and I was a doctor. So that's what I'm going to become. However, I was also the kid in third grade who launched a lemonade stand. But, the cool thing about my lemonade stand is I never worked it for a day in my life. I hired younger kids to work the lemonade stand. And so these markers of entrepreneur were kind of set at a young age. It's just that our educational systems they don't recognize it. There's nothing in there to catch that, right?
Yeah.
And so I started studying. I started working really hard. I've never been like that smart, but I work hard.
Yeah.
You can't outwork me. That's how I get my good grades. That's how I make everything happen. So I go through high school. I get really good grades, and I get accepted into this world premiere full scholarship program at a university that's going to put me on a one-way path into an Ivy League med school. It was perfect. It was the dream. My parents are super excited, bragging about me everywhere. I'm super excited. I get to college, I start taking classes, and I got to tell you, within a few weeks, I remember it was like 3 or 4 weeks in, my eyes opened one morning, and I'm like, uh-oh, like, I can't do this. I don't want to go to class. Like, I can't bear the thought of another class. Now, I want to start off by saying I love doctors, tons of respect for them. My sister's a doctor. They've saved my life multiple times, as you'll hear in the story. It just wasn't for me. And so what starts to happen is, I keep going through this and I keep going through class, and finally I reach a point where I was like a year and plus in, I was like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. So now I had to muster up the energy to go to my parents, or the courage to go to my parents and say, hey, listen, you know what? I'm just going to let this whole life that's set for me, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to drop my full scholarship. I'm going to move universities to go study entrepreneurship or to go study business. All right, great. I go do that. Finally, I muster up the courage. My parents are awesome. They were so great. Supported me, said, look, do what you got to do. So finally, I make this really hard decision. I go switch universities. Now my third year, I'm behind on credits, behind on classes, but I'm in business school. I go to business class. 2 weeks in, I'm like, uh-oh, I don't like this either. Like, I hate this. This isn't what I was expecting.
Yeah.
And so that was when I said either two things is going to happen. Either I'm going to be super special and do something big, or I'm going to be that dropout kid that just lives at home. And that was when I realized. I said, my problem is I hate going to school and just learning theory. I want to apply.
Right,
I'm ready. I'm like that player that's like, put me in, coach. Like, let's do this, And so that was where the journey began. I went to Google. This is like when Google was just starting. So I've been around that long on the internet. But and I typed in how to make money. And literally Google auto suggested online. And I thought, sure, why not? And so I clicked how to make money online and started doing all this research, and and I got excited. I found this one forum that was like, people are doing all these killer things, sitting in their basements in their boxers. And I was like, yes, this is a perfect thing for me. And, I always talk about my overnight success story took 18 months of absolute painstaking torture.
Wow.
I did everything, man. You going on social media today and you hear all this talk about hustle. Yeah. I hustled. I did. I hustled bad, but it wasn't working. So finally, I remember the day I went to the forum. I said, thank you, everybody. You've been so helpful, but I think I'm done. If I don't make any money in the next 24 hours, every man has his limits. I quit. I got all these great job offers from Wall Street. Like, I'm just going to take one of them and go off the other path. And this is my first angelic moment in my life. I had another one later, but this is my first angelic moment. Somebody messages me on the forum, zero history on the forum, never heard, never seen this person before, never messaged me before. And they said, kid, we've been watching you. like, I've been watching you, and I don't know, by the way, he or she, I have no idea, said, I've been watching you, don't want to see you quit. For the next 24 hours, you can message me as much as you want on this forum privately. I'll help you.
Wow.
Now, we didn't have Skype back then and Facebook and all this stuff. Okay. So I said, okay. So I almost didn't do it because I thought this was going to be a person trolling me. They're going to get a kick out of me. I was so down and out.
Right.
But, you know, this is amazing, Michael. This is where we learn, like, the smallest decision you make in your life can literally pivot you in a different path.
Right.
And so that day I decided yes and not no. And I worked with this person till 3 a.m, slaving away, and then I passed out. I woke up. All I know is, look, I ran to the computer. Boom, $300 were sitting in the account.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I had made more money 6 hours sleeping than I had made in 18 months of hustling, you know, combined.
Yeah.
And that was it. I took off from there. Okay, one thing after the other, one thing after the other. I graduated, never took a job, built my business. In the first 6 years of my business out of college, I grew it to 10 million a year.
Incredible.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, I had offices all over the world. I had 96 employees. I was just rocking it, traveling first class. You know, I wasn't buying gold jewelry and fancy cars. I was still investing all my money back into business. I was still living at home, for crying out loud. And 2008 happens. Market crashes, economy crashes, everything crashes. And I you know, first time CEO, first time entrepreneur. I kind of took a look around a little bit. I'm like, nah, come on, I'm Anik. Like, nothing's gonna touch me. I got this, right?
Right.
And invincible. So the economy didn't impact our industry for about a year and a half. But I'll just tell you fast forward just only 2.5 years. By the time I was 27 and a half, okay? So before I turned 28, I was $1.7 million in debt.
Wow.
Everything collapsed around me. Everything. My poor parents had to take a second mortgage on their home just to help me. My dad had spent his life paying that house off. He had, but then he had to remortgage the home to help me out.
Wow.
My best friend lent me his life savings.
Wow.
I owed MasterCard, Visa, American Express, the local bank. People were calling me day in and day out to collect on their debt. I started drinking. I was borderline alcoholic. I started getting super sick. I started falling in the hospital every 3 months with massive internal bleeding. I mean, so when I talk about a roller coaster story as an entrepreneur, ladies and gentlemen, you don't want my story, okay? It was tough.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Yeah.
And my second angelic moment, this was my wake up call. I'm in a plane. The plane's about to take off. Apparently I blacked out.
Wow.
Who knows, right?
Uh-huh.
The person sitting next to me could have just thought I fell asleep. Apparently this person waved down the flight attendant. Next thing I know, I'm being smacked awake, like someone's like slapping my
Wow.
face. I'm strapped to a stretcher. I'm being pulled off the plane. The plane is actually pulled over on the runway.
Wow.
They found out later that had that plane taken off, I would have actually gone into shock over the Atlantic Ocean and died because I had bled out almost 40% of my body's blood.
Oh my goodness.
So that was it. I'm stuck in Amsterdam in a hospital, not able to communicate. I'm strapped down. And I look at myself and I said, "Man, Anik, you became an entrepreneur for financial freedom.
Yeah.
You can't even go pee right now without permission.
Right.
We got a problem.
Yeah.
Like, we got to fix this." So I went home. I shut down all my offices. I got rid of 90 of the 96 people. I had 6 people left.
Wow.
I was massively in debt.
Yeah.
My lawyer said, "Go declare bankruptcy right now." And I said, "Are you crazy? Who am I going to say I'm bankrupt to? My parents who mortgaged their home? My best friend who has no more money left? Like, no, I have to make good on this."
Yeah.
And that was when I say that was the day I truly became an entrepreneur, because I took a step back and I said, you know what? What the heck did I do wrong? I'm not going out like this. I got to figure it out. I got to solve this puzzle. And so I really started asking the right questions. And it was those questions and the search for the answers to those questions that led me to writing, the book that we'll talk about later today, Escape, that led me to meeting Damon John, Robert Kiyosaki, Bob Proctor, Warren Buffett, having emails with Mark Cuban. And it's because I'm on this journey to really figure things out. But long story short, I paid back my debt in 16 months I was back on top. Today, if you look at me today, I have multiple businesses, nonprofits. We do over 35 million a year, living the life, love every minute of it. I'm creating value, making changes in the world, and I'm doing it for the right reasons, and I'm just – I figured it out. But the purpose of the story, guys, is most great entrepreneurs, you'll hear they have the rise and the crash.
Right.
And my goal, my mission in life is to now figure out how to teach people enough so that they don't have to deal with the crash.
I love that so much. And I think the problem with entrepreneurship, very easily said, is that people have a misconception of what it's really like to be an entrepreneur. And we hear these unicorn stories where it's all sunshine and daisies, and no one's really telling the pain, the suffering. In your case, the true blood, sweat, and tears of the situation to say that entrepreneurship is much more than just owning a business. It's much more than just building something awesome. There is a lot to sacrifice, and entrepreneurs are truly laying it down for a belief, a cause, a message they believe in, and they're risking so much. And sometimes it works out perfectly, but a lot of times there's that rise and crash like you're talking about. So you've created this company, Learn, LURN, so that people can really find it the right way, and you're trying to help prevent that rise and crash. Tell us that story of how Learn started and how you got the inspiration to say, education's awesome, but the way we're doing it is horrible in our society. Let's reinvent this.
Awesome question. So basically, in my journey back, right, in the part where I was asking myself, what went wrong? Where did I go? Who am I? I'm having all these like spiritual moments. And I figured it out. I said, you know what? Entrepreneurship is completely misdefined.
Yeah.
And you alluded to it earlier. Webster, if you're listening, you got the definition wrong.
Right.
Google, if you're listening, stop it. Don't define it this way, because if you type in entrepreneur into Google, it has two parts to the definition. It says, the first part says a person who runs their own business. Right. Well, I got to tell you something. That's not an entrepreneur anymore, but you don't have to run your own business to be an entrepreneur. Right. Because actually coming out of Silicon Valley now, there's a term called intrapreneur. And it is the exact reason why Google, Netflix, Yahoo, Microsoft, Amazon, all these companies are so big. They deploy intrapreneurship. Okay, so first of all, that's a recent evolution in the last like 10 to 15 years. So I understand why the definition.
Here and give me that definition of intrapreneur, because I've never heard this, and I've worked a lot in this space, and I'm excited to hear this because it's something new for me. So tell us what that is and what that means and how that's redefining what we consider entrepreneurship.
Got it. Okay. So, Michael, have you ever seen a Sony PlayStation?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a creation of an intrapreneur at Sony.
Okay.
It was an engineer whose daughter was playing with her Nintendo, and he felt that it was just a stupid experience. He thought it could be better.
Okay.
So he started tinkering with it, and he went to his bosses at Sony, and they said, "Okay, we love this. You want to lead this project? We'll give you a budget. You want a team to do this with?" He said, "Yes." He created Sony PlayStation. Okay. You use Gmail at all, Michael?
Yeah.
Created by an intrapreneur at Google, someone who had an idea. AdSense, the biggest creation in Google's history that led to billions, trillions of God knows in value, created by an intrapreneur. An intrapreneur is someone who treats their larger organization that they work, quote unquote, for as if it was a financial backing institution,
like a VC,
for example,
or an angel, or
exactly,
an investor.
Yes. Right. So what they do is they come into a large organization, utilize its resources, its HR departments, its finance departments, its marketing departments, its sales departments, but they build their own team. They have their own budget. They're given full freedom. They go out and create because that's what an entrepreneur does in the end of the day. Right. So the second part of that definition, right, which Webster says is someone who takes unusually high risks seeking a higher return.
Okay.
And again, it's such an incorrect part of the definition. And this is the part of the definition that made me broke and nearly killed me, because a lot of people, you said it before, you hear these fantasy unicorn stories. So people have this notion in their minds about entrepreneurs that literally says, go big or go home. And I went home.
Yeah.
Literally. Had to go back to my parents' home. Right. Yeah. And that's not – it was the dumbest thing, because smart entrepreneurs – I can't talk for all entrepreneurs, but I'll tell you, successful entrepreneurs, they don't actually like taking risk. They're actually really good at coming up with things and businesses to do that are super risk averse. Actually, they got backup plans, plan B, C, D, E. So I redefined entrepreneurship early on, and this is how I'll answer your question on how kind of we came about to Learn. I redefined entrepreneurship as something very simple. It's a person who finds a problem, solves the problem, but now most people would stop here, and that's not the definition. Okay. It's someone who finds a problem, solves a problem, and then the key part of the definition is creates value.
Okay.
And your wealth as an entrepreneur, or how rich you are, or how successful you are as an entrepreneur, is going to be directly proportional to the amount of value you create in the world. And if you can define it that way, it's actually really difficult to fail. And so that was where learn came from, because that definition led me to asking a question. And I said, Anik, what value do you want to create in the world? What change do you want to make? What really makes you tick? Where can you and the biggest question that led to was, hey, you know what? How do you find a problem?
Yeah.
Look at your own life. What are you struggling with? What do you wish you had? And I said, man, I really wish we had this community. I wish we had a central place to trust as entrepreneurs, because universities, we got tons of them. Colleges, we got tons of them. Right? Where do entrepreneurs go?
Right.
You know, if you're an engineer, you go to work. Every day you get to hang out with your peers. You're a doctor. Every day you go to work, you hang out with your peers. Every profession, you get to have that community. You get to have that training. You get to have that association. But entrepreneurs don't have that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So I thought, wow, I found a pretty big problem. Now let me solve it. And when I do, I think I'll create a lot of value in this world. And that is exactly how Learn was born.
That's super, super cool. I love that. And you know, there's a saying that only kings and queens know what kings and queens know. I've shared that a lot on the podcast. And what you're solving is getting other entrepreneurs with other entrepreneurs so that you can solve each other's problems, so you can learn from each other. I love education. I love learning. I love discovery. I love solving problems and dreaming. But so often it's this place of just being stuck in a system that isn't working in our culture. Kind of alluded to that at the beginning, is education is important, but our educational system, whether it's K through 12, whether it's universities or colleges, it's not setting people up for success in the economy that we live in today. It's creating good employees, it's creating a lot of debt, but it's not really teaching the freedom and seeing individuals and calling them into that dream and destiny and giving them the tools to resource that. And I love that your company's solving that problem to say, hey, these people who don't fit the normal convention, who don't think the same way as a traditional educational structure, how can we teach them? How can we release them? How can we equip them and network them so that they can make the impact and have the tools and have the sphere of influence to get the support to launch them into their future? I love that. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, and you know what's so funny is I always get on and I say, look, guys, I'm not going to be here to badmouth the educational system and blah, blah, blah. I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything. The truth is this. Look, our educational systems were built decades, if not a couple centuries ago. And if you look around the world, almost every society today uses fairly the similar system, right? Yeah. So the thing is, it was built to serve a different human society. But think about this. In the last 20 years, we have evolved more than we did in the last 2 centuries combined. Yeah. And so the system's just not caught up yet. So when I write a book like Escape, or when I do what I do with Learn, my goal and my mission is to influence that system to help add a couple of rocket boosters and getting it to change, because that's just what's needed. We just need to catch up. We're evolving too quick. The systems can't keep up.
Right. That's so good. As we wrap up this segment, there's a couple questions we always like to ask. I know that for you, you are big into passion-based business, but let's get personal. How are you finding that purpose and passion in what you do? How is that really bringing that place of significance and value for you, that you're finding that fulfillment of purpose?
Pure and simple, right? So this is why passion is important. This is how I test it. This is the litmus test to it. As an entrepreneur, I don't care how good you are. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how great the people around you are. I don't care how smart and brilliant you are. An innate journey of an entrepreneur has ups and downs.
Right.
You will have downs. You're going to have days that suck. That's just the truth.
It is.
All right? And anyone who can't deal with that, I tell you right now, there's nothing wrong with just saying you shouldn't be an entrepreneur.
Right.
But you will have days that suck.
Yeah.
And in those days, money is not going to push you through.
Right.
Passion will.
Yeah.
So when I have tough times, it is my mission, it is my purpose in life that drives me through those. It certainly isn't the amount of money I make, because I'll tell you something, if I was money driven, I would be retired right now chilling on a beach, because I got a lot of it.
Right.
But I'm not.
Right.
And so when things get tough, I'm able to look myself in the eye or in the mirror and say, do you want to keep doing this? Are there people in this world who you want to change lives for? And I say, yes. I said, great. Then shut up and keep going.
Yeah, I love that you're using that passion to be your drive to sustain the journey, where a lot of people lose sight of that passion and just get overwhelmed by when things suck and just give up, having that why, as Simon Sinek calls it, or having that passion, as you're talking about, is such an amazing tool in the arsenal of keeping the drive going. You are building awesome stuff, but you're facing your own challenges, as we all do in our business. What's one challenge you're currently working to overcome in what you're doing?
That's a great question. So the place where we are in my biggest company, Learn, right? Because I got multiple companies. And so in Learn, we're at the place where in order for us to scale beyond now, it's got to stop being the biggest decisions can't be made by me anymore. I need great leadership, and I need to really hone and fine tune the skills of my people. And that's a challenge for me. It's a challenge for any entrepreneur because we are innately are controlling, and we've always been the center of attention, and we're used to solving problems. And so now I'm having to really take a step back and teach my team to solve problems versus me solve those problems. And it's a fun challenge. I love challenges, but it is my current challenge.
I love that. And thank you for being honest about that. 'Cause so often we try to sugarcoat it to make ourselves look good, but your transparency there and just being honest, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. There's no better way to be.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. You're doing so much. We're talking about Learn here, but you've got nonprofits, you've got other businesses, you're in the online marketing space. You are growing and building and evolving you and your businesses and what you do. What's the next big goal you have for your business?
So the biggest goal that everyone in Learn is centered around is we launched our platform, which is actually still in alpha. The backdoor to it would be learn.com/register. If you went to learn.com, you wouldn't even be able to get access. But we have about 130,000 people in that platform right now. And our biggest goal right now is to get 1 million people in there, because we've done all the numbers, all the data. We feel like 1 million people in that platform will actually create a shift in the entire scope of entrepreneurship and the lives of entrepreneurs. So as a company, that's what we're focused on. In my nonprofit, I'm incredibly focused on we're at currently 9 schools that we've built in Mumbai, India, and we want 50. And again, that is a very specific reason, because at 50, the entire organization becomes completely self-sufficient and builds 5 schools a year on its own without any external donations. So we're really focused right now on getting the fundraising done to scale up to 50 schools, and then get that organization fully self-sufficient so you can make an impact for decades, if not centuries to come. And then we'll go build another one that can become self-sufficient. And so instead of just giving and giving, we believe in empowering. And I did a whole TEDx talk about that, and it's just, I don't believe in just giving and donating money. I think it's a waste. I think we should be empowering and demanding a nonprofit return on our capital. It doesn't come back to my bank, but I want to see that the organization I gave it to will use that money and over and over and over again, not just one time and burn it, and then I have to come give again every year.
I love that. We're going to go more into detail about that, education, the new book, Escape, and much, much more. We'll be right back with Anik, Singal, and going deeper into the topics. Here at Jumblethink, we're always trying to do exciting new things to help you reach your dreams and ideas. We are now Squarespace authorized trainers. What does that mean for you? Well, we're excited to announce our brand new Build Your Own Website in a Day. Yes, a day. Live virtual workshop. Building a website can feel overwhelming, especially if you want a website that effectively reaches your audience and turns them into avid customers or clients. It can also be expensive, costing thousands of dollars to hire a developer to build a custom website for you. But what if I told you can build your own website with ease and without the huge expense? Now it's your turn to learn how you can take your small business online, sell your products and services on a global market, or even share your message to change the world through blogging, vlogging, or podcasting. It's time to get your business online or launch that new dream startup. See, this will be an interactive course. You will build your own website during the course, and there will be time for questions and answers with each section of the workshop. It will be simple, painless, and actually a lot of fun. So join the party and sign up for one of our online workshops. It's about time that the world gets to know you. Here's how you can find more. Simply swing on over to jumblethink.com/teachme. That's jumblethink.com/teachme, and find out some more information about the workshop. See if it's a right fit for you and sign up today. Now let's rejoin the conversation with Anik, Singal. We are back with Anik Singal to go deeper into the topics about learning, about nonprofits that are sustainable, into the world of education, online marketing. Who knows where this conversation is going to go? It's going to be a lot of fun. Before we dive in, Anik, how can people find and connect with you?
Oh, thank you for asking. So, listen, guys, you can find me on Facebook. Just go to Facebook and it's facebook.com/onyxandgal.com. But right now, I would tell you this. If you want to connect with me in multiple ways, go to escapebook.com and get a copy of my latest book. It's free. You just have to cover shipping and handling. Damon John from Shark Tank actually wrote the foreword to it. It's an awesome book. Okay, you can look it up on Amazon if you don't believe me, and look at all the reviews. It's Escape, as in the word ESCAPE book, one word, escapebook.com. When you get there, you're gonna get on all the different platforms and communications. You'll get a free login to the Learn platform, and you'll start hearing from me, and then we can connect in many ways.
You know, before we started the interview today, we talked a little bit about the book, and it was off my radar. I completely missed it, and we research our guests pretty intensively. I don't know how I missed it. But I'm excited about this book. I can't wait to check it out personally. Escape 4 Strategies to Becoming a Successful Entrepreneur. I believe that's right?
Yeah, the 4 stages to becoming a successful entrepreneur. And Michael, I can tell you how you missed it. Look, when you probably did your research, the book wasn't out. This book is very recent. It was released a month ago.
Wow.
And honestly, in the first 3 weeks, we moved over 25,000 units of
That's
it. So,
incredible.
it's been one of those things where we were, I call it my ambush. We really wanted to keep quiet about it, and then we went big with it. And this is my. I joked with my wife recently. I said, when I die, I want you to take this book and put it on my tombstone.
Wow.
This is my life's work, and it's 3 years of research, and everyone is saying who's reading it, they're saying I finally decoded what it takes to succeed as an entrepreneur, including Damon John. Damon John literally said he read the whole book cover to cover, and he said he was amazed because he said in this book I've actually decoded what he looks for on Shark Tank before he makes an investment in an entrepreneur.
Well, okay. So there's a key word in this book that we talk about a lot on this podcast. And I don't know if I've gotten a great answer for it. I've gotten good answers. I've gotten answers that are very unique and individual to the person. But success, let's go there. What makes what is the mark of success? How do we define it? And how can we achieve it in our own lives?
It's a great question. So for me, success is defined initially by first knowing what you want. It's personal. Yeah. It's individual.
Yeah.
So some people, I have a friend. I'll just tell a little 15-second story here. I have a friend of mine I grew up with, my best friend in high school. And in high school, I was this overachiever kid, right? I want straight A's. I want to do this. I want to be president of this organization. I want to be blah, blah, blah. My best friend at that time said, he literally would say this: I want a B- average. I want to go to community college. I want to graduate. I want to have a decent job, get decent money. I want to have like a lower class BMW, and I want to have 2 children, and I want to just be happy, and I want to live, and I want to golf. And I used to look at him and say, like, you're crazy. Like, that is the worst goals in life. Like, here I am trying to climb Mount Everest, and you don't even want to get up on a hill.
Right.
And he literally looked at me and said, that's what I want. That will make me very happy. And let me tell you something. The man today has 2 beautiful girls, an amazing wife, a beautiful home. He has a BMW exactly like he described.
That's awesome.
He has a great job. He gets home every day by 3:30, spends the rest of his day with his girls. He is happy as can be. He's successful.
That's so good. I love that. And it is very personal. And I think that and I'm sure that you can answer this, but it seems like our society has done a really good job of the comparison game. If we're not keeping up with the Joneses, if we're not achieving somebody else's dream and putting that success on ourselves, then we're not going to achieve. And I love your story there about your friend and how he knew what success looked like for him, and he lived that, and he's created it, and he's as happy as can be. How can people begin that journey of defining success so that they can set themselves up for the success?
Sure. So the first thing to do, right, is determine what it is that you want, as in what makes you happy. Look, it's not wrong. If materialistic things make you happy, fine. Write it down. Acknowledge it. Put it on the paper. Some people love to travel, but they don't care about traveling first class or staying in 5-star. They just want to travel. Some people love the freedom to be able to play video games 3 hours a day, or to be able to just chill and watch TV.
Right.
Like, what is it that zones you in, that makes you happy? Because success in the end is defined by what makes you happy. And when you know what that is, stop caring about what other people around you want or think of your goals. So just define exactly what you want. So, my wife, I married her a few years ago, and of course she lives around me. So, right, all she hears is entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship. She wasn't an entrepreneur innately when I met her. And she's tried the last few years and this and that. And she read my book. She actually read my book a few months ago. She came to me and she said, "You know what? I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't want to do this."
Yeah.
And I said, "Babe, that's amazing. Like, it's awesome. What do you want to do?" She goes, "I really love working with kids, and I want to serve children, and I want to help them." And I said, "Go for it. Move forward."
Yeah.
So she doesn't care that maybe my friends' wives are out there building businesses and buying Prada purses and all. She just doesn't care. What she cares about is at the end of the day, at night, before she goes to bed, is she happy with what her day looked like?
That's so
And
good.
see, I might have the toughest day. Last night, I'll tell you something. This is a true story, happened last night. Around 12:30 a.m., I was getting ready to go to bed, okay? I was up late. I would happen to be up that late by chance. 12:30, something happened. Something pings me. I realize, okay, we have a problem. There's a fire in the company right now,
Oh, wow.
and we need to get to the bottom of this. So
Yeah.
I was up until 3:30 in the morning working on it. Didn't get to bed till 4 in the morning. Had to be back up at 7:30 to get to work. And the first half an hour, I was like, was cranky and I was, was tired.
Yeah.
And so my wife literally looked at me and said, "God, why do you do this?" And I looked at her and I said, "Do what?" She goes, "This." I said, "Are you kidding me? I love this. Like, this gives me a high.
Right.
I'm excited. Like I said, I found a big problem, and now I get to solve it and get to learn from it. I'll never do this again." And she's looking at me like I'm crazy. But see, even though I had a really hard day, I ended the day happy because I was joyful in what I was doing. And so I may not have reached my ultimate goals, but I can tell you without a shadow of doubt, I'm successful.
That's so good. I love that. And it's easy when you are entrenched in something. And in our case, in our sphere, you and I, it's entrepreneurship, building things, having this journey of launching and creating. It's just innate in us. But it's easy to put that on other people and be like, "Well, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you doing that?" And I think that for us, we've come to the conclusion, and it's the message we share. We just want you to know who you are, who you're created to be, and to walk it out, whether that's a teacher at a school, whether that's starting the next unicorn business, whether that's just being an employee and picking up trash, whatever sets you up for that life situation that you feel like, this is what I was created to do, this is what I love to do, and this is what that brings me joy. It's a beautiful thing. So how can we...
You know what, Michael, though?
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
The key to success, the key to making your dreams come true, the hardest thing is we've not actually talked about.
Okay.
So we make it sound so simple, but the hardest thing is knowing what you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody knows what they want. I mean, I do events all the time and I ask people, define it. "Oh, I want to be rich." No. Hold on a second. What is rich?
Yeah. Yeah.
How much is rich?
Yeah.
What do you want to do with the money? "I don't know, buy things." But that's not going to get you there.
Yeah.
Right? People are too afraid of defining what they want at the risk that they won't be able to achieve what they defined.
That's powerful. Can you say that again?
Yeah, I don't remember what I said, but I'll try to paraphrase it again. People are too afraid to define what they want at the risk that they won't achieve what they defined.
Wow.
And
That's
so
powerful.
until you get past that, I'm telling you, if you're listening, you have zero chance of being successful. You might become rich. You might become wealthy. You may drive a Bentley and live in a big home, but you won't be successful because you won't be happy.
So when you're talking about defining success, you're talking micro level, not macro. You're talking nitty gritty details, paint the picture. Get it as detailed as possible, because the better you know it, the more in tune you are with that success story, the more you can create it.
Yep. So Michael, for me, it gets as granular as this. When I like waking up in the morning early, relatively 7 a.m. or whatever, but I need my time to be myself. So I was able to come to my assistant a few weeks ago and say, "You know what? No meetings before 12 o'clock because I want my mornings. I don't like it. I don't like meetings in the morning." And that was enough. Nobody was there to question me. She said, "Okay." That's awesome. I love that. That specific ability to control everything about my life and to dictate and decide what I want and have no one question me. That's success to me, right? My ability to, right after this podcast, if I want to go home, I can go home.
Yeah.
I can do what, it's so that freedom. For me, success is defined by the ability to be free to do what I want. Now, I might be able to have that freedom with 1,000 in my bank account or 100 million. I don't know. But in the end, that's how I know I end the night very happy. But yes, the more granular you can get, I had the biggest dream for the longest time. I wanted to buy an Audi R8 because I saw this when I was
Killer
like
car.
12 years
Yeah.
old on the Motor Trend cover. I was like, I want this car.
Yeah.
Guess what? A few years ago, I bought it. And 2 months ago, I gave it back.
Wow.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love that car. But what defines me and what makes me happy, it wasn't in the definition anymore.
Wow.
And so do you have the kahunas to be able to say what you want and then actually live as if and make decisions? And do you have the kahunas to say what you want and then not achieve it?
Wow.
That's going to determine your chances of succeeding.
I love that. And I'd love to. I have not driven an R8. It's been on my list. I have an Audi TT Quattro. I love the car.
I love that one too.
Yeah, it's sort of a lot of fun. And anyway, side note, but I can relate to what you're talking about. I had an incredible business coach that one day asked me a question that I almost hated him for asking me this. And his name's Graham. He goes, Mike, what do you want to do? Because I had built a big agency. We had done good numbers, had a lot of employees, did some really cool stuff. And I looked at him and I go, well, what do you mean? What do I want to do? And it just was a question that really throttled my mind into full out, just kind of going, I don't understand this question. And it's a very simple question, but that's really what you're getting to the core of is, what is that for you? What do you want to build? What do you want to do? What do you want to create? And then set yourself up to know that and paint that picture. But that's not the full picture of your book, Escape. You have 4 stages to doing this. Let's go a little bit deeper into that. What are the 4 stages? And I don't want to give away the book, but I want to give people enough to know, hey, this is a book I really need to engage with.
Yeah, you got it. So basically there's 4 stages, and within each stage I give 5 characteristics and 5 behavior traits in each one. So there's 20 total characteristics and behavior traits. Now, honest to God, yes, they're linked very specifically to becoming an entrepreneur, but I got to tell you, we want to talk about success in general. You need these 20 characteristics.
Okay.
Let me share with you how I came up with them so that before I go into them.
Yeah.
3 years ago, something interesting happened in my life. I had a student that paid me a lot of money to fly in and get coaching from me.
Okay.
The student came in, super smart, wicked smart, had their stuff together. I was like, man, this student is going to make it. This is going to be one of my biggest case studies. So I was really vested emotionally into this student.
Yeah.
And then I have another student who pays me not as much money, much less, but asks for an hour or 2 of my time on the phone right around the same time. This happened within a week or so of each other. So this student gets on the phone, super excited, super energetic and all that. But I got off the call and I was like, I don't think this person's going to make it. Okay, fast forward 3 or 4 months later. Here's exactly what happened. The student I had bet my money on literally was spinning in circles and was still sitting where they were, driving me crazy, frustrating me. The student I had bet against quit their job, was already running a 6-figure business, and was crushing it. And it boggled my mind.
Yeah.
That day I sat and thought, what is it that makes someone successful? Because I've taught over 250,000 students. Why do I not have 250,000 case studies?
Yeah.
Why do I not have a 100% success rate? That led to a journey where I dissected 3 parts of I did 3 basic chunks to the research. One was I looked at my own story. As you guys heard, I've been through up and down and up and down. And I was like, what is allowing me to still be alive?
Right.
Like survive and thrive. And okay, number 2 is I looked at my students. Now, I didn't just call and interview my successful students. I called and interviewed the ones that have been struggling for years as well.
Okay.
I spoke to them. I wanted to look for patterns. And honestly, I didn't think when I started my research that I would actually find patterns, but I wanted to look for them anyways. And then third, last but not least, I got a chance, thanks to my contacts and thanks to the work I've done in my life, I have had the ability to sit across the table from Warren Buffett and have lunch with him, have emails with Mark Cuban, talk for hours with Damon John, Robert Kiyosaki, Les Brown, Bob Proctor, some of the best minds of our time. And I started dissecting them, reading books, researching the top entrepreneurs. And what really got me excited is about a year into it, as I was throwing everything on the board, I started to see a pattern.
Okay.
And that got me excited. So I found a lot of core characteristics and behaviors that were being matched by those who were making it and those who weren't. And it had nothing to do with a tactic. It had nothing to do with how to run a Facebook ad, how to build a page, how to build a funnel, nothing,
right.
none of that. Because all these people were in completely different business lines.
Yeah.
Right? I could go to Warren Buffett today. He doesn't even know what a funnel is. He has no idea.
He doesn't care either.
Neither does he care. Exactly. So I broke it down. So what I want you guys to do right now is visualize the word escape, okay? But with the first letter E is a lowercase.
Okay.
The rest of the letters are all uppercase. So ESCAPE. The first one is lowercase.
Yeah.
So then there's a little arrow that goes at the bottom of the word. It goes from the little E, that's the first letter, to the last E, that's the last letter. And that basically means how to go from employee to entrepreneur. Okay.
Okay.
And the 4 letters in between, S, C, A, P, are the acronyms to the 4 stages. S stands for self. We'll talk about that in a minute. C stands for catapult, or creating momentum. We'll talk about that in a minute. A stands for authority, or basically the same as leadership. We'll talk about that. And then P, the final frontier to becoming an entrepreneur, is people, your environment. So as we talk about these, what I realized was that within each of these, there were 5 characteristics and behaviors that were matched amongst the world's most successful people and that were lacked amongst the world's most unsuccessful people. Okay?
Yeah.
And so you look at, what was that?
Oh, I just said yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at S, okay, let's look at self. This is where our educational system, this is where we were talking about, comes into play. Most people who want to become an entrepreneur are usually in their upper 30s, lower 40s, mid 40s, sometime around there. Why? Because they've spent a couple of decades in the work environment. They've saved some money, made wise decisions. They're pretty, they're not poor. They're not rich. They're doing well. They've been doing good. And so they decide, you know what? I'm pretty good. I got some money. Time to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So let me draw a direct comparison for you. Let's just imagine right now in your mind a baseball player.
Okay.
Been playing baseball for 20, 25 years since they were 5 years old. They've been professional MVP for the last 7 years in a row, record-holding baseball player. Wakes up one morning and says, you know what? I'm a damn good athlete.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to play football.
Yeah.
How ridiculous would that be? People would say, you can't just switch over and play football. Are you crazy? You're not trained for that. You don't know the skills of playing football. But that's exactly what most of us do. This is why 85% of entrepreneurs fail, because literally we don't need recoding. First, we need decoding. We need to be decoded and then recoded.
Yeah.
The way we think, the decisions we make, how we approach things, the paradigms that we have set within ourselves that have been built over decades are within the self. So what we do in this is I take you through the 5 core elements, and I can actually allow you to test yourself so you have an actual physical score. By the way, when you read the book, there's a quiz inside that you could take. It takes about 40 minutes, and it'll come back and it gives you an E score. That is actually a percentage likelihood of you succeeding as an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And then the quiz comes back and gives you specific steps of what to do, where to work, so you can increase your score. So that all happens in the self stage. Then we move into the C, catapult, create momentum. So the thing I'll tell you about this is my favorite. I get this all the time. I get students coming up to me and saying, Anik, you know what? Man, I'm ready. I want a better life. I want to make $1 million. Tell me how to make $1 million.
Okay.
And I say, great. Have you made 100? And they hate that. I don't want to make $100. That's stupid. I want to make $1 million. I'm like, yeah, I know, but have you made 100?
Yeah.
See, everyone out there is looking for the escalator or the elevator. No one wants to take the steps.
Right.
And the thing is, you got to take the steps.
Right. It's about that momentum of building. There's an old saying, like, we're building on the shoulders of giants. And so you raise the ceiling, and then you get to that new level, and then you adjust and you move to the next ceiling and next ceiling. But if you're shooting for the moon and you don't have the steps in between you and the moon, you can never reach it.
Absolutely. Newton's laws of physics actually apply to catapult, because he says an object in motion will remain in motion until acted upon by an opposing force.
Right.
So if you have a car and you want it to get it to move and it's in neutral, it's going to take 5 people pushing with all their might to get it to move. But once the car is moving, one person could coast along behind it and keep the car moving.
Yeah.
And most people don't think about that. So I told the person, I said, if you make $100, then I'll tell you make 1,000. How do you make 1,000? You do what you did to make 100 10 times. Then I'll tell you to make 10,000. How do you make that? Do what you did to make 1,000 10 times. So we've got to learn to build momentum. So I give 5 key characteristics and behaviors that we need to build that habit. Then we move right into authority, stage 3. Now this one's a doozy, okay? Because this one, I look at our system and I think this is one of the ones where our system fails us the most. Because if I walk into any 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade class anywhere in the world, in any country, I'm going to find between 30 to 50 students sitting in that class.
Yeah.
And if at that point, let's say 40 then. Let's just average is 40. If at any point I ask, how many class leaders do we have in this class? One person will raise their hand.
Yeah.
39 kids at the same time are not getting the ability to practice or hone in their leadership and authority skills.
Right.
So right from the get-go, we are not taught to lead. We are taught to follow. This is where employees come from. We don't know how to break things down. We don't know how to make decisions. We don't know how to problem solve. We don't know how to dissect things and then resolve them. And let me tell you something. The number one thing you need to be able to do as an entrepreneur to succeed is you need to be able to influence. You need to be able to inspire. I'm not asking you to, I'm not asking you to create a revolution by giving a speech in front of 40,000 people. I'm asking you to be able to inspire your team members, your customers, your contractors, your vendors.
Yeah.
And you're going to do that through authority. You have to have authority. So we teach 5 characteristics there. And then last but not least is the final frontier. It's the toughest one. It's people, because it involves emotions and you don't have full control over it.
Yeah.
But people, one of the worst lessons taught in personal development industry now for decades is that if you have a negative person in your life, remove them.
Yeah. Which is bad.
And you know what? Let me
So
tell you
bad.
something. Yeah. When I was starting my business, my father was negative.
Yeah.
When I was building this $3.5 million facility we built for entrepreneurship training here, my mother was negative. You know what? When I was $1.7 million in debt and I told my now wife, then girlfriend, that I was going to start another business to get out of debt, she was negative.
Yeah.
Do you know why people are negative? People are negative because they love you so much. They want to protect you.
Yeah.
They can't understand what you're trying to do. They see risk. They see failure. They want to protect you from it, so they get negative on you.
Right.
The real people we need to remove from our lives are toxic people. And most of us only have about 3, maybe 2 to 3% of the people in our lives are actually toxic.
Right.
What I do is in this particular section, I teach you how to stop looking at relationships holistically and start looking at them individualistically. What I found is successful people aren't the same way with everybody. They're like chameleons. They literally can go into a negative relationship and turn it positive by learning what triggers that person and how to communicate with that person, not with everybody, but with that person.
Well, and
So
I
this
think
is
that's really powerful because so often we don't want to deal with difficult situations. And when you go into those situations with those people and you're able to pull out their potential, when you're able to inspire them to come along the journey, you're not just creating good employees. You're not just creating people that are along for the journey. You're becoming a team of people who truly have ownership and they want to go deeper into this. They are along for the journey, not as a fan, but as someone that's like, this is it. I've bought into the mission. I'm along for the ride.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good. No, absolutely. So people's the final frontier to entrepreneurial success, and it's a tough one, but we give you 5 characteristics there as well. And then, of course, then that's where I believe you are adequately equipped to finally be able to become an entrepreneur. But if you take our E-score, which you get when you read the book, I always say you have to score a 75 or above if you want to successfully, if you want the odds to be in your favor to succeed in having your own business. And if you succeed, and if you're scored between a 50 and a 75, you're most likely to succeed as an intrapreneur. And if you're below 50, then currently you should still be employed and really just be an employee of a company and you work on it. If you really want it, I give you the exact steps to grow your score. It can grow. You can learn. As a matter of fact, people say, "Can you teach entrepreneurship?" And I prove to people that actually we were all born entrepreneurs. It's been beaten out of us over decades, but we're actually all born entrepreneurs. That's how God puts us on this planet. But then the system beats it out of us and we become employees.
I love that. There's so many questions based off of that, but the one that's just way forward in my mind is I've heard you speak, and it starts with E and ends with E in that escape process. But so many people who want to be entrepreneurs are running their lives, their businesses, their endeavors as employees, and they become slave of their own dream and idea. How can they change that mindset of being an employee of their own entrepreneurial journey? You shared even in your story how you're creating the life on your terms, your success, where you can say, if I want to cut out at 3, I can do that. But so many entrepreneurs are slaves to that endeavor. They're slaves to that dream. And in that, they just get burnt out. They get run down. So how can they shift that mindset of saying, I am an entrepreneur. I've built this. I've done this stuff. I need to stop thinking as an employee and start thinking truly as an authentic entrepreneur?
2 words: self-education.
Okay.
And this all links back to the ego that most entrepreneurs carry with them. So the problem is that when we are becoming employees of our own businesses, there's really only a couple of possible diagnoses that could happen. The first one is that you just aren't equipped with knowledge on how to stop that. You don't have the current knowledge on how to train your team to find better people, to redefine your business model. So there's something you need to still learn, and a lot of people are too busy doing too little time to learn, right?
Right,
And so
right.
I'm always learning. That's what I do first thing when I wake up, is that I invest time to learn. The second thing that could be is, are you chasing the wrong thing? Are you willing to adjust your dream? Are you willing to say, you know what, maybe I misdefined what really makes me happy?
Wow.
Because that might lead you to make different decisions. Too many of us decide that when I was 12 years old, I said I was going to be a billionaire, so that's all I care about now. Well, guess what? When you were 12 years old, you didn't know what you know today. So maybe you can redefine. Maybe you're different today. And if you're not willing to redefine, how are you going to grow, and how are you going to adapt, and how are you going to be that chameleon that you have to be an entrepreneur? So it's really one of the two things. Either you're chasing the wrong thing, or you just don't know how to chase the right thing.
Right.
And so it's an easy solution it's an easy solution to dissect, but you do need to go out there, do the dissection, and then you need to go out there and usually it's number one. Typically it's going to be the fact that we don't have enough information. We don't know how to do something. We don't want to admit we don't know how to do it. I'm the first person to say I don't know how to do something, and I chase the answers.
So good. The more I dive into the world of entrepreneurship, it was a journey for me that was unexpected. And not the journey I had planned for my career. But in that journey, I talk to entrepreneurs all the time. I talk to business owners. I talk to all the different spheres of influence in that chart of dreaming and idea making. And the marker for me that I see over and over again, and I'm hearing it in your story too, is that entrepreneurs, dreamers, makers, influencers, whatever that space is that they own and operate, they all have a curiosity about them. They're constantly learning. They're constantly wanting to engage with that information, go deeper and explore. If somebody's just like going, hey, I kind of want to get down this road, I'm still an employee, I know I'm not ready to be an entrepreneur, what are some steps that they can take in that curiosity journey to begin learning and growing so that they prepare themselves to be successful entrepreneurs, to take that leap?
Absolutely. So if they're still in the middle and they don't want to take the full leap, first of all, I would really encourage you, and it's not like self-promotion, but go to escapebook.com, get yourself a free copy of this book. It's coded exactly for that. It'll show you what to do next. But the next thing I would say is start doing something fun. Start doing something entrepreneurial, something where you report to yourself, where you're accountable to yourself. Start a blog, start a Facebook page, start a YouTube channel, create a meetup, and start administering the meetup so you can practice your authority and leadership. Just do something that's incredibly low risk, and if it didn't work and you just stopped, it wouldn't matter. No one would be hurt from it. But start doing something so that you can start to feel the fun and the passion and the creativity so that you can start hitting obstacles and challenges and see if you actually enjoy seeking the answers, and so that can guide what you study, how you study, when you study, and God forbid it actually starts to make you some money. You might just fall into becoming an entrepreneur.
That's so good. There was much more that I wanted to go into today in this episode, but I think we covered stuff that's much more powerful and life-changing than what I had planned to talk about. So I'm excited about this. Remind people one more time how they can find and connect with you.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. Well, thanks for having me, and thank you everyone for listening. I hope that I was able to even create one aha moment, and I will be able to know that today for me was a powerful day where I created impact. If you want more, you want to connect with me, you want to be able to take some of these nuggets and really turn them into instructions and into steps, go to escapebook.com, ESCAPE book, BOOK.com. Just go to escapebook.com. Get yourself a free copy of this book. Just cover shipping. We'll ship it to you anywhere in the world. If it costs us more to ship than what you pay, I'll pay out of my pocket. And all we want to do is get this book in your hands. And along with that, you'll get the ability to connect with me on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and on email. And we'll start making sure you get all the amazing messages, training, and coaching that we give here at Learn. A lot of which, by the way, is for absolutely free. So again, that is escapebook.com.
Super cool. We'll be right back with Anik Singal for our rapid fire questions. Today's episode is sponsored by Opportunity in China. Here is a little bit more about what they're doing.
At the dawn of the 19th century, forward-thinking people moved to the commercial centers of Europe. Moving into the 20th century, America welcomed millions into the land of freedom and opportunity. It is now the 21st century. Many of the successes and fortunes of our generations will be made in China. To learn how you can seize opportunity in China, follow the Opportunity in China podcast. The Opportunity in China podcast is available anywhere podcasts are streamed, or you can visit our website at opportunityinchina.com.
And now let's jump into rapid fire questions with Anik Singal. We are back with Anik, and we're going into rapid fire questions. Anik, are you ready for rapid fire questions?
I do this, man. Let me just sit up here. I'm stretching real quick. Let's do this. All right, I'm ready.
Awesome. Well, the first question, one of my favorite questions, is what is one tip you'd give someone with a big idea or dream and they simply don't know where to start?
I say just start moving forward. Break it down into small steps and do something, anything, even if the wrong thing. Just do something.
Now, the world is a crazy place. There's exciting things going on. There's bad things going on. What's one change you'd like to see in the world?
In middle school, I always say that when I die, I'll know I'm successful. When in middle school, when you have to choose your career path, it'll have a little box that says entrepreneur that you can check off.
Love that for sure. You are a person of purpose. What do you want your legacy to be?
1 million entrepreneurs empowered all over the world to be brought out of poverty. So we're not talking about just everyone, but specifically 1 million entrepreneurs out of the parts of the world that really need it, and 1 million children pulled off the street and put into schools. That's my legacy.
Love that for sure. Where do you find inspiration?
Man, I find inspiration in so many places. My friends, my parents, my wife, books. I actually try to find inspiration everywhere, every single place possible. I'm a man who believes in silver linings. I look at all of my failures. I find inspiration in them. But I would say if I had to pick just one thing, I'd say education. I find my inspiration in books and in courses and in videos and in learning.
Well, talking about books, other than your book, because it's a killer book and everyone should go get it right now if they're listening. Cool offer that you have right there, and they need to go get it. But other than your book, what is one other book you think every dreamer and entrepreneur should read, and why?
I'll give you 2 books: Rich Dad, Poor Dad from Robert Kiyosaki and Think and Grow Rich.
Okay, great books for sure. Okay, so this is our question in which we have 2 variants on it. Today I'm going to ask both. The first version is, how do you define success for yourself? We've talked about success a lot, but for you, what does that picture look like?
1 million entrepreneurs and 1 million children off the streets and in schools. That truly is, for me, that will be the ultimate success. There's other grades of success. Like, I'm successful every day because I'm very happy. But that, for me, that's what keeps me up at night and gets me up in the morning.
And the other question that we usually do in this kind of, I usually pick one, but today that second question is, what is one trend you're currently excited about?
The mass influence we can have of getting our message out via social media. Love it.
Love it for sure. What is one habit that you find helpful in your life as an entrepreneur?
Waking up early and commanding the first hour of the day. I do not let other people control or dictate the mood of my mood for the rest of the day. First hour is mine. I'm selfish.
Okay, so the next question goes right into that really well, because I want to know what that means for you. How do you start and finish your day?
Good. So I always have my vitamins right next to my bed. I like a nice vitamin B12 in the morning.
Okay.
I wake up, I literally put my legs on the floor, grab a bottle of water, chug it, take my vitamins, do the usual, brush my teeth, et cetera, go downstairs, grab a cup of coffee, and go straight to our library to read for a half an hour to 45 minutes. I wish I could say I meditate a little bit more. I really should, but I do try to get prayer time in as much as possible. But the key part there being is I read. I also do for 5 to 10 minutes try to get my heart rate up, so I might jump around a little bit, just do whatever I can. I can't quite say I exercise yet, but I get my heart rate up. So I just want to kick my metabolism into gear. I end my day always hanging out with my wife. It's literally my favorite way to end my day. We usually talk, we watch television, and I'll go into bed. I definitely will pray before I go to sleep. I might watch some funny videos. I like to end my day very, very just like relaxed. So I might watch some funny cat videos on Facebook or whatever and just go to sleep.
If you weren't doing what you're doing today, what do you think you would be doing?
That's a really good question, because I always debate that. I think I'd be a lawyer.
Oh, wow. Okay, that completely caught me off guard. Why a lawyer?
I don't know. It just I'm really good at that stuff. I catch things, and I have some of my favorite conversations with my cousins who are all lawyers, and I seem to enjoy it. I think I'm a big talker though. Like, I don't think I'd like to work that hard. They work really hard.
Yeah, they do.
But in all seriousness, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing today, it's really hard to imagine. I definitely would be an entrepreneur. I'd be running something or the other.
Okay, so our final question, and by far my favorite question, and especially like when I have people like you on the podcast where I go, we resonate with that whole people really tapping into their dreams, becoming who they're supposed to be, finding their identity. For you, you've done so much. You know what success looks like for you. You're building that picture, but what is that one dream you are still wanting to fulfill in your own life?
For me, it would be getting healthy. I've had a lot of battles with health, and I think sometimes I'm so focused on my professional goals and things I want to do that sometimes I don't focus enough on myself. And the last year, I've really started to change that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be off of all my medicines. I want to be, perfectly healthy. I want to be full of energy, and I just, I want to hear someone tell me that I look 10 years younger than I really am. Like that would just be an amazing dream come true.
Well, as we wrap up today's episode, we always like to leave the guest have a final thought. So, what's your final thought for our listeners today?
Oh, it's my favorite saying, a quote that I say all the time, day and night, and that is, when life pushes you, stand straight, smile, and push it the heck back.
Anik, it's been a privilege to have you on and hear your story. And thank you so much for sharing incredible wisdom that I know will impact the lives of many. And look forward to connecting up with you more as we go on into the future.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone for listening. I wish you all the best. Go out, do whatever you can to make your dreams come true and change the world. Thank you, Michael, for everything you do and for this amazing podcast.
Once again, we want to thank today's guest, Anik Singal, for taking time out. Make sure you check out the episode notes where you can find links to his websites and books and other resources we chatted about in the episode. We want to thank today's sponsor, OpportunityInChina.com. Make sure you check out what they're doing. If you are wanting to study abroad or teach abroad, you need to connect with them. So head on over to OpportunityInChina.com and start that conversation. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to thank you for tuning in. It means the world to us that you would listen to this podcast. The goal of the podcast is very simple: to encourage you, the listener, to dream big, chase those ideas, and change the world around you. So today, I hope that the episode's done that, and that you take the steps, whether they're small or big, whether the impact is for your community, your family, or nations around the world, you would begin to make that dream and idea a reality. So, the challenge today: get out there, do something small. It doesn't have to be huge to begin the journey of making that idea and dream a reality. We believe that you were created for something special and that the world needs you now more than ever. So get out there and make those dreams and ideas a reality.
Vous êtes une autre personne. Les mères de famille, les enfants peuvent également prendre un moment revitalisant. Dans quelques mois, lorsque vous aurez bien saisi la technique et que vous serez maître de votre corps, vous pourrez vous décontracter même en travaillant.